countdown, properly
It is.
prepared us.
It is quite the interminable crackdown here. But you know what's strange though? So I was a little bit thrown because ordinarily we only get the 5-second countdown when we do office hours. But now we're
Mm.
having the 5-second countdown when we do a podcast. What's up with that, Cameron?
Just keeping us on our toes, seeing if there's a feasibility to, what we're developing here.
Well, we are live for our weekly office hours where we are going to take all of your questions, but we decided to put this particular office hours on the podcast feed, do it as our regular episode. And the reason is this is our 99th episode of the podcast. Oh,
99.
99.
So that's at least what? It's almost 50 hours together talking startups.
Well, I mean, it's going to be more than that because I think our average is like 40 something minutes,
Oh.
and yeah, like we've done some short ones, but the average is definitely long. So yeah, we're at weeks of time at this point. How many Joe Rogans is this? That's what I want to know. How many Joe Rogans have we done?
Zero. We're not a Joe Rogan.
I just meant that the men can talk for
Hmm.
what seems like an eternity.
Well, we haven't
So
sold
go
any
on.
products here, so no alpha
That reminds me,
brain
guys,
or-
I want to tell you about some supplements that I've been taking, and they will change your life. If you're suffering from low T, I've got some pills that I think would be fantastic.
Low T as in low traction. Low
As
traction.
in low traction, baby. We have the traction pills that will cure your startup.
So this is the Joe Rogan Startup Edition. Do you have low T?
The Traction Lab podcast, Joe Rogan edition.
The Traction Lab.
What to do when you've got low T? Oh man,
find some tea.
That's some just to get us the rating. That's some fucking gold. Oh, cool. Well, this is going to be a little bit different than our usual format in that this is our weekly office hour. So we're live on YouTube. We are live on Instagram. As we speak, this will only be very lightly edited when you're listening to this on the podcast, which means we are taking the questions that people ask in the chat as well as the questions that were pre-submitted. And we have, I think, four questions that were pre-submitted. And if you want to send your question in advance for us to answer live on our office hours on YouTube and LinkedIn every Friday at noon, you can head up to tractionlab.io, and right there you'll find a link to submit your question. Get a little bit more breathing room than you get in the comment section of YouTube or LinkedIn. But we love it when you join us live. So if you've got something live, come on over, and we will help you out, particularly if you are struggling with low T.
We got you.
We got you. We got you. We got you. All right. Well, why don't we dive into the first question, and then we'll come back. We'll do some, announcements and upcoming things, because we do have some exciting Traction Lab stuff to talk about. And then maybe we can, if we have some extra time, maybe we'll reflect on what it's like to do 99 podcasts and how we're going to narrow in on our 100th. But something tells me y'all are going to come through, and we are not going to have any free time. But here we go. Our first question. This is from a B2B SaaS startup that targets small businesses. They said they're at the early revenue stage, and their question is, we priced too low at the start, and now I want to raise prices, but I'm scared of losing the customers we have. What's the right way to do this without everyone getting mad and leaving?
Cool. I think if we had a magic wand, we probably would have gone back and charged the full amount. So that's one of the common challenges we see founders make, is they try to subsidize it early for early customers, even though they might have that, or not might, they should have that urgent and severe pain point, and so they should be willing to ultimately pay full freight for those opportunities. And if we are likely providing a discount or a subsidy it might be a trigger that that's not fully who our early adopter or core customer is. And so that hesitancy that you're feeling, that definitely can be right. I think part of what you need to then articulate is price is a signal of value, and that ultimately, are they still going to get that return on investment that they're ultimately putting down in terms of paying you as a customer? Because again, they're buying to solve some sort of problem and achieve some sort of outcome. And does the math still pencil for them based on that? And then, if it's a substantive price increase, you don't necessarily want to have to like add a whole bunch of new things, because that can lead to challenges, because now you're adding to the cost structure mechanism of delivering that value. So those would be the first things that come to mind for me. What about you, Jay Doom?
Yeah, I completely agree. I would say a couple of things. The first is that there's going to be a different answer depending on how much the price difference is and how many customers we're talking about. So if we're talking about two customers at a lower price, then I don't know how much we care because it's only two customers. We can worry about how we make that up later if we need to. And at some point, it's not going to be an issue if we are losing those customers because of a price increase. If we're talking about a large number of customers, then like, okay, it's like, well, now, what did we do here? This is actually going to hurt us all the time, our payback period, yada, yada, yada. If we are talking about a big difference in price, we're charging $10 a month and we're trying to jump up to $250 a month or something like that, or from a per month pricing to a per seat pricing, or anything like that, where it's causing like a major shift in how you're getting that money and what that dollar amount is at the end of the day, then all of those things make it more difficult to actually change the price. So I think there's going to be a little bit of variability based on that. But I will say that I don't care. I mean, at the end of the day, if we're saying that the value, like because you're early revenue, the value of your company is the future value of your company, not the present value of the company. And so the future value of the company is determined by the customers who have yet to pay you money. And so as long as we start getting the new customers on the new pricing, the current customers don't have to be a problem for that at all, unless the current customers are costing us money because we so dramatically missed the right pricing structure. And if that's true, then that probably is something that we need to fix for cash flow reasons. And then that's a question of, well, yeah, we should have done that from the outset, but we didn't, and now we're going to do it, and the result may be that we lose some customers. And then the question becomes, does that signal that the customer segment that we thought we were going after is no longer the right customer segment? So if we raise the prices on them and they leave, and our whole strategy is built around finding customers just like them, then that is signaling that we may not be able to do that. So it might also just be an early test of, is this the right price? Is this larger price the right price? So those are some of the ways that I would think about it. But all things being equal, I don't think I care.
The price is right. Price is wrong.
I think we had an episode called "The Price is Right."
Yeah, I think we've had two of them.
We're at 99 episodes.
No
We've done
one,
all the
no
titles
wonder,
twice.
no wonder we're at 99. We just repeat them.
Well, we've really done 47. We just keep recycling episodes.
We just changed the title. It's all an
Yeah,
experiment.
that's right. All right, cool. Well, that's the first question. If you got a question that you want to ask in the chat, for those of you who are watching this live, then drop that into either the YouTube chat or the LinkedIn chat, and we will get your back. But we do have a few more questions that were pre-submitted. Let's do one more, and then we will talk about what's happening at the Traction Lab coming up. So next one is a B2B SaaS for creators and influencers. They're at the unpaid pilot stage, Cameron's favorite stage.
Love it.
And the question is, everyone loves it in the pilot, but the second we bring up paying, they go quiet. How do you actually convert free pilots into paying customers without losing them? And this here, by the way, is why it's Cameron's favorite kind of pilot, favorite stage of company.
The pilot that goes nowhere. Oftentimes these unpaid pilots. So one, I think just pointing out, the reason JDM said these are my favorite is we always want to really focus on, if we can, charge for those pilots, because one, we're demonstrating actual desirability traits. So, some of our jargon of like closing that say-do gap in the sense of measuring interest versus actually intent and that willingness to pay. Because oftentimes when we do the unpaid pilot, the quote unquote customer, the person that's doing the pilot, is seeing their investment or their payment is the time and giving you feedback. But the thing that's a challenge is if we don't know if they're actually going to pay, we might be optimizing, not might, we are likely optimizing for a customer who may never pay, right? So if they don't intend to pay at the end, and all that customer feedback doesn't really help us because they were never a paying customer to begin with. And so we want to identify those paying customers to start. So to go specifically to your question, how do you actually convert free pilots into paying customers without losing them? I would say, like, if you are needing to do for whatever reason an unpaid pilot, is to structure that at the beginning. So demonstrating, here's what the terms of success of this pilot are. So you have to have a clear demonstration of, here's the value that we're aiming to provide, and here's the time window in which we will deliver that value, and upon delivering that value in that time window, here's the price that they will pay after that for that value going forward. And so you're actually outlining basically the contract of what that sale will be, with that sale coming after you delivering value. So if it's a feasibility challenge that you're trying to work through, you can demonstrate that value in this ultimately pilot, but you're having that structured agreement that one has to have time bound, and something that's not massive in time outside of it. Like maybe if it takes a long time to deliver that value, you need to understand what that time would be, and then what that core value mechanism is, and the price that they're ultimately going to be willing to pay. So when we actually put that in front of them, even though it's quote unquote unpaid, at least it surfaces conversations for those that would say, actually, we're not really interested. We wouldn't want to pay for this. To those that are saying, oh yeah, we would definitely be interested in paying, but we want to make sure that there is a value, that value is delivered beforehand.
Absolutely. And so now, since you're in this situation and you have these unpaid pilots that don't want to convert, and you're thinking it has to do with trying to get them to pay, then I want to probe a little deeper. But before I do, I will just say, if they're not going to pay, let's find that out. You know, put a clock on it, start it over. Like, this is what the price is going to be as of this date. If you guys want to continue, you need to sign on the line that's dotted, and you have to be okay with them leaving. This isn't a case where you try to salvage a customer who doesn't want to be there. And that's the danger of the unpaid pilot, is that you might have ended up with a customer who isn't your customer at all. And that leads me back to what I wanted to probe into. Is your question was, everyone loves it in the pilot, but what does loves it in the pilot mean? What does that actually mean at the end of the day? Does that mean that they're saying nice things to you? Does that mean that all the users are logging in every day and they're all using it and they're all getting value out of it? Does it mean that there was a particular benchmark that they were hoping to hit that they are actually hitting? Like, what does it mean to love it? Because if it's anything that's not the first one, then you have an indication that you actually have just like a value misalignment, because they are using it, they love it, they got what they thought they were going to get out of it, but they still want to pay for it. So they're just the wrong customer because they're not going to pay. But if it's just the first thing and they're just saying nice things and you're like, oh, they love it, they keep telling us that they love it, and that's all that we have, then I'm going to say they don't love it. And I can probably say that with pretty high confidence, that they don't love it. And that's why they're not converting. And you still, again, have the wrong customer. And so now we need to take a step back and ask why that is, because it's going to be one of two things. Either we have the wrong customer, or we're creating the wrong outcome for them, the wrong product, wrong value proposition, wrong benefit, whatever. It's one of those two things. And so can we pivot on the customer, or can we pivot on the product? Because trying to keep these two together isn't going to work. You don't have problem solution fit, let alone product model or business model fit or product market fit. Mm-hmm. That's kind of all I got to say about that. You done fucked up.
Are you struggling with low T?
This company is struggling with low T.
Here's the antidote: is do paid pilots.
That's right, paid pilots, or at least letters of intent. But like there needs to be some terms around this so that everybody understands. And when you define that pilot in advance, it needs to have that date and the success criteria that cause it to convert to the real contract. If you don't have any of that, all you did was give somebody a free trial.
There you go.
All right. Well, Cameron, so before we take the other questions here and leave room for people in the chat, always takes a little bit longer when we're late to kick off the live stream. Traction Lab's got a few things going on. we've got a
Just a
few
couple.
things in the hopper, and you don't have to be struggling from low T to take advantage of these programs, but they will help you if you are. What order do you want to take these in? We got a couple things to talk about. Should we start with TLVS?
Sure. Yeah. You can take a TLVS. I'll do the Tillire, the
I
TLIRE.
thought you were going to say the turd.
No.
No, this is not a turd.
Nope.
The Speaking of turds, the Traction Lab Venture School. This is our online program to get tons of support from the Traction Lab for getting your early paying customers. So if you already have a paying customer, helping you figure out a repeatable path to scale. How can we get a repeatable path to continuously acquiring more customers? So all that we need to do is pour gas on the fire. If you don't have customers yet, how do we find those early paying customers and get them into our ecosystem so that we can build toward that scalable, repeatable, predictable path to growth? It's fully online. We have a full year of support that's baked on into that. We have weekly office hours. We have guest speakers. We've got frameworks, tools, techniques, tips, templates, all the things to support with all that. We've got hot seats, so you can come on and get grilled in front of the rest of the venture school class. You can opt for the higher tier of this, where you get one-on-one access to the Traction Lab. That's me and Cameron, and where we will just fully, put on our galoshes and dive into your startup and help you make sense of what's next, what's repeatable, what's not, what we need to go prove, how to go prove it, and then go prove that together. So if you're looking for that repeatable path to growth, you want to get those early customers and scale and figure out how to scale that up. Check out the Traction Lab Venture School. That's you can go to tlvs.link or tractionlab.io, and there's a link for TLVS there. Link in the LinkedIn chat. I'll put it in the YouTube comments, or sorry, in the YouTube description once this posts, and of course in the show notes for those of you listening. Traction Lab Venture School, check it out. But we've got another program.
Yeah, so the other program we're going to be launching here fairly soon, we are accepting applications. It's called the Traction Lab Investment Readiness Engine. So one of the core elements, we will be ultimately selecting 15 companies to go through this 9-month long program of support. The aim of the Investment Readiness Engine is to help you get to your next major fundraising milestone, but really with this intentional focus on what we call our dual engine. So the first is on systematically acquiring customers. So your growth engine, we help you go from low to medium to high T. No, just ultimately, this is targeting companies that have, some fair amount of traction and are looking to move from that predictability into repeatability, and use that as a traction story to help them raise capital going forward. So ultimately, we translate your growth engine story and the traction you're getting into an investment milestone and ultimately position that for an investment. So we'll take 15 companies. We'll, after a quarter, we will whittle down to about 8 to 10 companies. And then after the next quarter, we'll narrow down to about 4 companies that will then be positioned to a group of investors for investment. And we also have some non-dilutive funds for experimentation and supporting in that process. But you get access to our support and help kind of push you through that process overall. So applications are open. And again, we'll be selecting about 15 companies. So we look forward to having you apply for that. The last thing I would share, it's not necessarily a program, but one of our events that we have at the Traction Lab. Our next high conviction happy hour is a little over a month away. So that will be on August 27th. That'll be taking place at Aggie Square. So we'd love for you to join us for that. It's a really great event to see kind of like our similar to our hot seats, but ultimately we have 2 companies that will be presenting, and we have a Traction Lab review board, so experts on looking at traction and identifying gaps in business models, and they will be poking holes, and everyone can learn from that process of how they interrogate and look at the defense that ultimately that startup is providing. So thinking of it as they're actually providing a thesis or theory of how their startup's operating and their traction to date, and that will be poked and prodded by the Traction Lab review board. So I'd love for you to join us for that. I'm going to be throwing that in the chat here as well. But any
And
last?
yeah, one of the things that I love about our high conviction happy hour, and the last one was a great success. It was a lot of fun. Is that you get a peek behind the curtain. And like one of the things we always try to do on this podcast is give everybody a peek behind the curtain about how do professionals in this space actually think about things, so that you can kind of get into our minds, understand where we're coming from, so that you can put that to great use in your startup. And the high conviction happy hour does that same thing. And the kinds of feedback that you get in the room when you're pitching is not the kinds of feedback that is most helpful. And we've talked a lot about that before. We've written articles on it. We've done podcast episodes, on it, and on how to interpret investor feedback to try to get at what they're really saying, because they're not telling you exactly what they are thinking in their head. High conviction happy hour is not like that. We are not reviewing pitches. The review board is exclusively focused on the fundability of the company, finding those gaps in traction, in the fundraising ask, in the go-to-market strategy, and everything else, and then being super direct about here is what we're seeing, here's why we're seeing that in a particular place, and why that worries us, and let's have a discussion around how we can make that better.
Boom.
Awesome. Well, the lights have turned off on me again. This is the last day. There we go. I had to stand up and move around. This is the last day of the summer camps that I've been doing with UC Davis. We had high schoolers, freshmen through a senior come in for the last few weeks and learn about entrepreneurship by doing it. I've got on the board behind me, look at this. I'm explaining to 15-year-olds how payback period works using a graph. We've got the pirate metrics right there on the board. On this side of the board, we've got CAC LTV, we've got competitive matrices, we've got all the things. And if I were to show you around, we've got desirability, viability, feasibility, early adopter pyramids, we've got severity and urgency, we've got how to find risky assumptions. And it would not be a Traction Lab inspired event if there was not also a graph of the Trough of Sorrows, in which we have mercilessly kicked students into throughout the week. So there's a graph of that as well. Been super fun, but the lights in the classroom are motion censored, and as I sit here recording, they turn off because we're just on a lunch break. All right, I think we got time for another question, maybe two, if we are efficient. And so with that, shall we dive in, Cameron?
Let's do it.
All right. So this next one is another B2B SaaS for contractors. They say they have an MVP in progress, and they say, should we go super narrow on one type of contractor or build something that works for all of them? Everyone we talk to does things a little differently, and I'm worried about picking wrong. What do you think?
I would say to definitely narrow in on the contractor that has the most urgent and severe pain point. So maybe where the difference is they have difference in workflow, but I would be interested in understanding like how those contractors are different. Are they part of large organizations or small organizations? Are there other tools that they're using, and what are the existing problems that are coming from it? And who are those that have the highest urgency and severity related to those pain points? Because then we can target what features ultimately solve those problems and better articulate how their life is better. So what value they're going to be getting out of it, versus it just being, we're building a very broad solution that doesn't solve really anyone's problem. And so then you're not likely to kind of move forward. And so I guess the question I have is, you say you have an MVP in progress. And so I'm curious of how you narrowed in what even that MVP is when we kind of have this broad set of contractors, right? Is there a specific type of contractor that we're targeting, and the one that has that urgency and severity related to needs?
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I really don't have much to add to that. I'll just say the specific example, but it's like the contractor who does kitchen jobs, kitchen remodels, the same as the contractor who does framing for new construction. Do they really have all the exact same needs? Is the same messaging going to appeal to all of them? I doubt it.
Right.
All right, cool. I don't have anything else to say. Let's move into the fourth question then. And we still got time to take some live questions. Y'all are a bit quiet today. I don't hold it against you, but you're a bit quiet today. But if you've got a question, drop it into the chat, either the YouTube or the LinkedIn chat, and we will take those. Otherwise, the pre-submitted questions are winning today, and they are good questions, so no hard feelings. So our fourth and final pre-submitted question is a health tech, med tech startup targeting healthcare. I don't know what that means if their target customer, they said their target customer is healthcare, but okay. They're at the idea or pre-product stage and they say, the compliance and HIPAA stuff is scaring me. We're two engineers with no healthcare background. Is it crazy to go into healthcare without someone who knows the regulatory side, or can we figure it out as we go? The problem is real. We just don't know if we can navigate the industry.
You want
I guess I have a
to
couple of thoughts while you're noodling that. Are you crazy to go into healthcare without somebody who knows the regulatory side? No. When you take a specialty like regulation or something like that, that's pretty easily acquired. That's the kind of thing you want to get an advisor for, and they will help you with some of those things, and the rest is going to be covered by your counsel. So I'm not worried about that from that perspective. The other thing that is coming to mind, though, is you say the problem is real, but we don't know if we can navigate the industry. How certain are you that the problem exists, and who is it that experiences it, and who is the customer for this? Because
Mhm.
I could be reading way too much into the words that I see here, but there's a lot of general stuff, and that may just be because you were asking about HIPAA. But you have your target customer is healthcare. I don't know what that means. You're at the idea pre-product stage, and you're worried about HIPAA, and you think the product is real, and it's like it just seems like it's very early with maybe more of an ecosystem type problem. Like, oh, it's a problem in healthcare that, as opposed to companies like this or patients like this have this particular issue, this problem, this sphere nurture problem that we want to solve. And you actually can't really approach a startup in that fashion. You can approach innovation in that fashion, out of which a marketable innovation that you can form a startup around might emerge. But then the first thing you do is not think about how is this a startup in HIPAA compliance. You think about what is the problem within this space that we want to focus on, and that's where design thinking comes in. You say, what are all the problems that we could solve that are related to this core problem in the issue? Like if we said that we wanted to tackle homelessness, you could jump to let's buy everybody homes, but that's not going to solve the problem of homelessness. But we really can't define the problem of homelessness very well. So we're going to say like, well, let's focus on mental health or economic opportunity, or yeah, ecology, or climate. So there's a number of different ways that you can think about the same problem. So you have to think about how do we want to zoom in on that, and then once you narrow in on the problem, then you can explore what are all and you can explore who has that problem, and then what are all the potential opportunities to solve that problem, and then you have a solution to that problem. Then we kind of go forward from there. But with a generalized problem that's just targeting healthcare, then I think that you're going to have a difficult time doing anything. And either way, don't worry about HIPAA for now. It's way premature.
Yeah, and I think the only thing I would maybe just restate is one. I don't think you necessarily have to, have that background to navigate the industry. I think oftentimes, like having an outside perspective, you look at the problems differently. But I'd be curious as to, like, again, what the specific problem you're solving for is. So, one, definitely you can bring on an advisor that can help you navigate that and understand HIPAA and many of the other elements. So I definitely agree with your thoughts on that, JDM. And then I think just to maybe contextualize the ecosystem components was, really what you want to identify is like who is the economic buyer, and like is there a user in that space. And so those connected pieces is like you don't just sell to healthcare, you sell to a specific person within the healthcare system that has a very specific problem or set of problems, and hopefully they have high urgency and severity. But it might also be that the person who's benefiting the most isn't the person who's actually purchasing, and so we have to understand how they get solutions in their hand, and who they ultimately need to demonstrate value to in order to get the solution procured.
Could not agree more. And with that, we are unfortunately out of time, but it would not be the Traction Lab podcast, in case you forgot that that's what this was. It would not be the Traction Lab podcast if we did not leave you with some frivolous thoughts to take your mind off of the dumping we've just done on all of the startups we've discussed, and put your mind toward positive things as you continue to finish out your weekend. So, Cameron, you got a frivolous thought for us?
I guess my frivolous thought is just sharing a recent experience of seeing the Blues Traveler, Gin Blossoms, and Spin Doctors. So, was definitely probably the youngest person there, or second or third youngest person there. But no, it was a super fun concert, and they were very high energy bands. And I think the like big thing was I realized I do like music that has a harmonica, and the head singer of Blues Traveler just crushed the harmonica. So he was definitely ripping on it. So he actually he had to go and sit down and take breaks because he would be going for like 4 or 5 minutes straight, and then he would go catch his breath, and then come back and continue to rock it. So if you haven't
Love
listened
it.
to those bands, highly recommend it. And had a ton of fun watching them live.
Awesome, awesome. I love that. I love that. So I'm going to take my frivolous thought in a completely different direction. So it's kind of a twofer here, all right? And the setup to the twofer is that we've had some family visiting for a while. They're all gone now, but we've had some family visiting for a while, and kind of we capstoned this uh, with our most recent visitors with a game of Cards Against Humanity. And
Hmm.
which, if you've never played with family, is not necessarily something that I'd recommend, but we had a pretty good time, and
I
they
can
definitely had a good time. Our
recommend.
visitors did. But two things that I want to call like attention from having played Cards Against Humanity when I had not played in a very long time. So one is that the cards were much more focused on pop culture than I remember. And I know that because the references were all old. And so there's like references to Barack Obama and George W. Bush, but no really recent politician at all. For example, the musical references in there are older. Everything else is older. And it's like, and it's because of these cards are really old. I've had them for a long time. And so they've just, kind of atrophied in that. And so that some of the younger people who were playing did not understand many of the references in there, which was entertaining. And so like I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't remember being so focused on a moment in time. So it's like this evil snapshot of the distant past, or the not so distant past. The second thing that I wanted to call out is that if you've never played the game, it is a very at times uncomfortable mirror that the people who know you will hold up as far as what they think of you, because the intention is to give you the cards that they think are going to make you laugh. And let's just say that the cards that were served up to me were far darker than the cards that were served up to anyone else. And now I see how I'm seen by my family. And that's a thought that's gonna fester.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Well, thanks for that.
Shredder.
Um, the shredder. Yeah, I know. Um, well, at some point we'll create our own Traction Lab version of Cards Against Humanity.
Mm.
We'll come up with a clever title for it, and solve low T through board games. But for now, that's all the time that we have on the Traction Lab podcast. Thank you so much for letting us bend your ear another week. 99 episodes down. Next week is 100. We've got something special planned. Stay tuned for that, because we will show up in your feeds in a week with our 100th episode. Come celebrate with us. It's going to be super awesome. Celebrate with us in the feed anyway. That's going to be super awesome. Thank you, as always, for listening. Do us a favor and like and subscribe wherever you like and subscribe, because it really does help us out. That's how podcasts grow. And give us a 100 episode gift by taking this episode
Ooh,
and sending it to a friend with low T, and we will help them perform optimally in their startup. Cameron,
there
as
you go.
always, man.
Yeah, good time. Appreciate the combo, and thank you everyone for pre-submitting those questions. And we look forward to being in your ear next week. And so we'll exit as we usually do with bye.